very excited about today's session. Thank you, Vicki and Ryan, for going to be the facilitators, moderators, and the game show hosts here, and that's fantastic. First of all, on behalf of Swim Ontario, but also the Ontario swimming community, congratulations, you guys. Fantastic job this summer. You really lifted a nation through your performances, and I think it's really been a good kickstart, a good fire started for the new season for a lot of people that hadn't really had a season. So really appreciative of that. We've had a great conference week, many topics, many speakers and presenters, and some of you were part of some of that yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to see the award ceremony, it's a bit of a, it's a bit of a lengthy one, but when you get through and you see the various award winners, what we could do, but when we get to the Paralympic and Olympic recognition, fine job by that, and so motivating. It's going to have impact across our province, if not across the country, when people begin to catch on, tune in, and watch it. Yesterday, we were fortunate to have the Swimming Canada leadership team of Wayne Lomez, Mark Perry, and Ian McDonald, and we went through a bit of their reflection of the Tokyo journey. That's how we described it, and I think it was great to see from their position, their processes, and they were so different times. I've had discussions with them, and in forums such as this, they were so impressed with the athletes, the coaches, the professionalism, and the resilience of all of you. And that says a whole bunch right then and there, because we know it hasn't been easy. So from there, thank you for being part of this. All the best as things start to unwind and go forward for you. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and Vicki. So it's all yours, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. It's fun to be here with all of our athletes. Ryan, if it's okay with you, I'll kick off with the first question. I'll be asking the questions of the Paralympians and the Olympians. So I'm asking Abby first, and then Matt. How did it feel when you learned that you were going to Tokyo? That first impulse when you found that out. Abby, you can go first.
I think finding out I was going to Tokyo was definitely different than what I experienced back in 2016. We were on a Zoom call, and we had just been added to the team due to exceptional circumstances of not being able to have a trials, and just being on that call with the other swimmers there. And it was very special for us, even though we hadn't been able to throw down a swim to really feel like we earned our spot there. We knew that those people were going to be going with us to Tokyo, and that we would have to form the family that would support one another on our journey. So for me, it was very exciting to know that I would be going to my second Paralympic Games, something that I've been training for and dreaming about. So just really motivated me for those extra months ahead to really knuckle down and get the job done.
Thank you, Abby. How about you, Matt?
For me, I think it was a mix of emotions of relief and kind of that exhilaration of finally reaching my highest goal that I set for myself. And it was just kind of a huge thing that I wasn't quite expecting to happen on that exact day, but it came up in the press release, and the exceptional circumstance thing was stressful, but in the end it worked out, and I was just exhilarated and excited when I got the announcement.
Thank you.
Okay, on the Olympic side now, we have three first-time Olympians here, all young, super talented swimmers. And I'm interested in hearing what your guys' experience was like to make the team. I want to start with you, Katrina. I thought you had an amazing trials, but you had one of those stressful situations where you had to wait till the last day to qualify, even though you were swimming so well. it built and built and built and built until that last day. What was that like for you, and how did you stay, calm and performing on that last day?
Yeah, I think if anything, it motivated me even more to swim the 1500 on the last day. Throughout the whole meet, I was going best times in all my races. And also just seeing all the other swimmers make the team, I wanted to see myself and put myself on that list. So when it came down to the last night, the 1500, I was like, okay, this is my last shot. I have to give it everything I've got. And that's what I did. And I couldn't be happier with the result, and especially with the hard year we've had. And that was only my second time swimming the 1500 that year. So couldn't have asked for anything better.
I always find it hard in such a hard event like that to push yourself, because you were winning, you were going away winning, but you had to keep getting after the time. Was that a challenge for you, or was it just you knew what was at stake, so you just hammered it?
I think a bit of both. I didn't really know how well I was doing in the race. I felt really good. And then there was another swimmer, Abby Dunford, so she was right near me and pushing me the whole time. And if she wasn't there, I don't think I would have gone my best time. I don't know if I would have made the team or not, but it was a really hard race, but it made me better, and it made me get on the Olympic team.
Oh, it was awesome to watch, that's for sure. Josh, I'm going to come to you. You were a little bit of, if people hadn't seen any racing in a year, they were probably surprised to see you pop up. And not that you weren't already a fantastic swimmer, you're already on the national team from the year before in the 100 fly, but to win the 100 fly, to win the 100 free, to go toe-to-toe with Brent Hayden in the 50 free and do FINA A times in all three of those. What was that like for you? And I'll follow up with something else after that. But what was that like for you? That was awesome.
The improvement from the years before. I think just not having that year, or like COVID kind of like not having the trials when we were meant to, and then kind of had that year to build my motivation, getting into the meet and doing those times, stepping up right away. It was a great feeling, definitely, because I wasn't really sure where I was at. It's been a while since I tapered, and just even my first race, just getting out there, going at best time, and seeing that time was under the cut it was just a great feeling after a while without racing.
How much confidence did you gain from, like we've been training, your things are going well, but then you put up real world-class times as a build into the Olympics. How much confidence did you get from that?
It was definitely a big confidence booster, because I didn't really have like that big meet where I was tapered down, and so I wasn't sure. I knew I was better than I was before, but I wasn't sure how much better I was and the times that I could go. So just going those times was definitely a big confidence booster. Just get my mindset and ready for Tokyo once the meet was done after I hit those times.
Awesome. Finlay, you had a great year, even in time trials leading up to the meet. You had actually done the FINA A time, which was probably a huge stress reliever. But when it comes to trials, you're one of these athletes that are in a situation where almost all your eggs are in that one 200 IM basket. And I imagine it must be pretty stressful to get up on the blocks, and that one race has to come together. How was that for you?
Yeah, it's obviously a little stressful having one event. Hopefully in the next couple of years, I can extend it out to a couple more. But, it's just having confidence in your training and believing what you can do, and then just executing the race on the day. No matter if you're feeling, poorly or you're feeling the best you've ever done, at the end of the day, it's the same race it was, 2-3 years ago, and you just got to get up and execute it.
Awesome. Thanks. Vicki, do you want to go ahead with?
Sure.
Okay.
We all know that this has been a challenging couple of years, and everything has been different and changed. And I know that that the staging plan even changed a number of times as we maneuvered through the pandemic. Finally, the decision was made for the athletes to stage in Vancouver. And Matt, I was wondering, what did an average day look like in Vancouver during staging?
So an average day in Vancouver for us would look like depending on what we were doing that day. But kind of the most consistent day was either a double of swimming or morning gym, afternoon swim. So we'd get up around 6:30ish, head out to the dining area, have our breakfast, and then depending on what group you're in for training, you would either load up in the van to go to the gym, or you'd walk over to the pool. And I think that the whole atmosphere around there was excellent in terms of how close everything was, with the pool being about a 5-minute walk. So it felt really kind of freeing and like really good team atmosphere to have everything so easily accessible and easy to find. So there wasn't a lot of travel time and things like that. And then we'd either be in the gym for about an hour, in the pool for an hour and a half to 2, and then come back and we'd have lunch about a set time every day. And that was kind of another spot where you could talk with your teammates and just build that whole atmosphere, which in the end was crucial to all of us competing super well in Tokyo. And then either in the afternoon, you'd have a swim or it'd be off depending on what group you're in. And dinner again was just a great opportunity for us to all get together and socialize and just build that whole team dynamic that helped us get through the hardest days in Tokyo.
And how did you fill the time when you weren't with your team eating or training? Because there had to be a lot of downtime as well.
For me, I spent a lot of the time just occupying my brain, either reading or playing some guitar or listening to music, just trying to keep as positive a mindset and as lightly focused, but not like too strenuously focused on what was coming up. And especially for us paraswimmers that didn't get proper trials, there was a lot of anxiousness and anticipation going into a meet that we haven't competed in so long. So just kind of keeping the right amount of focus, the right amount of relaxation was key to us performing well.
Matt often travels with his guitar. I remember at Worlds 2019, our last real meet, the group got together outside, and a number of athletes brought their instruments, and they were playing together. And so that's one of the dynamics that I think is fun within the team. Abby, what did the team do to create a strong atmosphere? What do you think? What were some of the successes in that?
I think we just made an effort to like be there for each other, to encourage each other on the pool deck, or there was a little coffee shop we were able to go to just outside of where we were staying. So if we just needed to hang out one-on-one or just in small groups, whatever it was, I think we, since we hadn't seen each other for so long due to COVID, we really made an effort to be there for one another and really appreciate the time that we had together. Meals were always fantastic. We didn't know if we would actually be able to have meals together. So I think when we arrived in Vancouver and realized that we could actually eat together, we were all very excited about that. But something so simple just became so important to how we built as a team.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to jump off on that. It sounds like you guys had a little bit of a different situation than us. Same pool, obviously, but we were staying at a hotel downtown, about a half-hour drive. But that ended up working out really, really well. Like the whole year, I had only seen the kids at the pool. So like to have a half-hour drive, listen to different music with them, and just be able to talk was something that we hadn't really had the chance to do all year, like in that kind of situation. It was, normally I wouldn't look to drive 2 hours a day for, if we're doing a half-hour drive twice a day back and forth, but it actually worked out really, really well just to be able to have conversations in a different setting with athletes away from the pool. And it was fun. It was really good. It worked out amazing. And I think these guys will echo that our situation downtown ended up being quite nice. But before we get to just some of that lifestyle stuff, Katrina, I'm going to start with you because your situation was a little bit different. You were the only athlete on this Olympic panel part who had a different coach when you came into the camp. So how did Rob and you discuss that? How did you guys get ready to have a different coach? I'm going to start with that.
Yeah, so the week between right after trials and when we left for Vancouver, we talked about kind of what my training was going to look like in Vancouver. Obviously, I wanted to keep it very similar to what I was used to. So doing 3 doubles a week, 9 practices, keeping with the dry linen weight room. So Coach Dave and Coach Rob, they worked really well together, just being on the same page all the time about my practices, and even with me too. Like I knew when I got to the pool what I was doing, and I had probably the best practices of my life in Vancouver. So that probably a lot had to do with just the atmosphere and the team as well. Everyone was super motivating and motivated me to want to do really well too. But I think just the preparation leading up to Vancouver was really well, and then continuing it when we were there, everything was pretty perfect.
What did Dave do to gain your confidence, or for you to be confident working with him right away?
I think just keep like being on the same page all the time. We like after sets, we would kind of break it down, talk about what was good, what needed to be worked on. He was like super supportive all throughout the hard practices and always pushing me, keeping me up on my times and my technique. And so it was just like we're always on the same page. He knew what I needed, and we just worked really well together.
What did you like about the Vancouver camp, apart from the training? Like, what was one of the things that stood out to you that helped you get ready for the Olympics?
I think just like the atmosphere of everything, being in downtown, we were very, everything was super accessible. If I needed to take a break, go for a walk, I could go right by the water, kind of get some journaling done, which was super nice. If I wanted to go shopping, I was able to do that. And I mean, like being in the hotel, the food was amazing. It was very low key and super relaxing the whole time. So I wasn't feeling I was super stressed about what was happening in 2 weeks from then.
Awesome. Finlay, after we went through trials and the Ontario Centre had 11 athletes make the team, Ben made a decision to sort of split the group into two in Vancouver. And we had a group of 5 and a group of 6 that were generally offset most of the time. And it left you sort of without Josh, without Yuri. You're the only boy in your training group. You're the only man, I should say. Sorry. How was that? How did that work out? What did you like? What did you dislike about it?
No, I think it was good. Obviously, having a bigger group is quite nice, and training with Josh and Yuri is as fun as it can be. But I think when you're cutting down to the last couple of weeks of training before a big meet, you definitely need to be in a group with people who are training like you. So obviously, Josh and Yuri are more sprint focused. As much as I'd love to do those sets, I know that I need to do a little bit more medley focused, a little bit longer stuff. So I think it was important to be surrounded by people who are doing similar stuff. You know, Kylie and I believe Maggie was in our group. Those, like that. So I think it was very important to be surrounded by those people.
Ben, as the groups were split up, and a way of making sure he was on the same page with all 11 athletes, added personal meetings several times in Vancouver. So you had a chance to sit down with him a few times and just make sure nothing unexpected for Tokyo was going to pop up. How were those meetings? What did you like about them? How did they help you?
Yeah, I think communication with your coach is very important, and especially leading up to, for me, the biggest meet of my life. It's good to have open communication, and if there was anything I was concerned with, I definitely brought it up, and just making sure that we're both on the same page and our plans the same leading into the games, and just making sure we're on, the same wavelength. So it was very important, and I thought it was a huge benefit.
How was the food at the hotel?
Food was great. Yeah, I'm gluten intolerant, so it was a little different for me. But I thought, in terms of everything that was laid out, I was able to get the calories I needed, get the carbs, everything, and make sure that going into Tokyo, I was eating as well as I could be, and continuing being in the best shape I could be as well.
Thank you. So Josh, when we split up the groups, we kept obviously your training partner Yuri with you. You guys have one of the most unique dynamics I've ever been around as a coach, because you go at each other every single day. But I've never seen someone not supportive of the other. like if someone loses, they're just like, great job, that was awesome. And if someone wins, you know, like they're not putting the other guy down either. They're just, I've never seen you guys anything but positive with each other. And especially for males, sometimes, you know, you just sort of, you get after each other a little bit, and it's easier to put each other down, but I've never seen you guys do that. How has that worked out for you, having Yuri as a training partner?
Yuri's definitely been great. Like even from just the beginning of the group, when I just started off, wasn't as fast as him in freestyle. And he helped kind of pull me along. Then recently this year, we really just started competing. And I think like we both made each other better, right? And because we like beat each other, it was never like always one person beating the other. It's always back and forth. So, and we understand like we're both pretty competitive guys, and we always want to win in the set and kind of beat each other and push each other. So it was really good having him. And there's also there's a lot of respect between us both. So just after sets, you know, like, no, good job, like really good time. If Yuri goes a great time, I'm like, dude, like, good job, that was really good. If I go a great time, he's like, you know, that was a really good time, good job, nice set. And that's kind of how our relationship worked, and it really brought us up and made us really competitive.
How was it for you to have, you know, we're a big group this year, but we're always sort of more women than men, and to get to Vancouver and have some of your boys there, Gabe and Cole and stuff like that. How much fun was that, and how much did that help you guys just stay relaxed before we got to Tokyo?
Yeah, it was good, especially having people that I've known for so long being with me there. It was definitely it was refreshing 100%, right? So it was a great time. Love having guys like Finlay. Like Finlay knows some of those guys too, and I think he would say it was definitely good for us to, you know, get out, like catch up, and kind of like our minds, like we're obviously really focused on swimming, but having that time to like get your mind off it and just relax, it was definitely really good having some other guys there.
Awesome, thank you. Vicki, you want to take over from here?
Absolutely. Matt, can you tell me what travel day was like, heading from Vancouver to Tokyo? Some of the positives, some of the challenges. Just sort of walk us through what that was like.
Sure. So for travel day from Vancouver to Tokyo was definitely a really, really exciting day, but at the same time, a very, really like a long day. The couple of days leading up to the travel day, I think there was an atmosphere around the entire training camp that we were all just ready to go for Tokyo, all kind of wound up and really excited to get our feet on the ground there and get in the pool and see it all. So definitely the day was filled with a lot of anticipation, and hats off to Air Canada and the CPC for just creating a super welcoming atmosphere inside Vancouver Airport. We had a really nice welcoming ceremony, got to do a big team picture, and just got to enjoy the entire day as much as possible. And we were pretty lucky that it was quite an empty flight there, so we all had enough space that we could find our own either quiet space or find our teammates and find the right balance of what we needed to get there, either rest or relaxation or stretching or whatever. We had a really flexible travel day. And then when we got to Japan, that was when kind of the longer part started, with all the testing in the airport and document checking, and things took a while. But when we all arrived to the village on the bus, it was all worth it. Those few hours we had to wait in the airport were definitely all worth it.
Awesome. And Abby, is there anything you want to add?
I think the travel day was definitely like an experience. We each had everything kind of like planned out on the flight, and before leaving for Tokyo, we already started to adjust to the time change because we were going to be arriving to Tokyo only a couple days before the competition started. So we needed to be able to get over jet lag as soon as possible. So we had our physiologist helping us out, helping us plan everything that we we're going to be doing, going to bed later, waking up later, training later, eating later, everything. We switched a couple days before to set us up for a little bit more success when we got our feet on the ground in Tokyo. And I think for the most part, it worked really well. I was actually very impressed on how well people adjusted to the time in Tokyo. And yes, there's always those jet lag feelings. But when it came down to race day, I think people were ready to go by that time. So we accomplished our mission.
And how did the routine in Tokyo change from Vancouver? What were some of the differences?
I think for us in Vancouver, we had a very structured environment. We knew when we were training, we knew when we were supposed to be resting. We had team meetings, we had all sorts of things going on. So the days, although it felt like we would have a lot of downtime, at the same time, it felt very full and it felt like we had a lot going on. But by the time we got to Tokyo, it's kind of like everybody, due to restrictions and the travel time to the pool and different race schedules, like some people were racing day one. I, for example, wasn't racing till day 8. So everybody had their own regime that they were going to be following. So we kind of had a little bit more freedom, definitely compared to Vancouver. Like I was able to explore the village a little bit more, just get outside, stay active, but we all had our different schedules, which I think it worked really well for us. We still maintained the team environment, meeting up for meals in the giant dining hall and stuff like that, but we really kept to our own individual training groups.
Awesome. And once you're there, you're racing within a few days. Do you have to mentally prepare quite quickly? I'm going to ask Abby first and then Matt. What did you do to mentally prepare for that race?
I think for me, since I had to wait, there was a lot of excitement the first couple of days at the meet, as we were kind of like just being able to race and being in Tokyo, being at the Paralympic Games. There's it's a huge roller coaster of emotions. Like you're getting excited. There's also disappointment because some people might not be swimming as well as they wanted to. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. And for me, this was the first time that I've had to wait. Usually I'm day one of a meet and I'm ready to go and I have all sorts of events. But this time around, it was like day 8 was it. So I just had to stay relaxed and really focus on what I needed to do. Like going to the pool and still doing my training while everybody else was racing. And I had my camera with me, and that was really important to help me stay relaxed. So I was going out and taking photos. I was taking that time for myself so that I knew that I would mentally be where I wanted to be by the time I was ready to race. And yeah, by day 8, I wasn't exhausted. It's a long 10-day meet, but I felt fresh and I knew that I could use that because the other girls I would be racing against would be a little bit more tired with busy race schedules. So yeah, I just used that as a way, and I felt like I didn't have those pre-race nerves that I usually do. I got a really good rest the day before, but I spent a lot of time just like mentally preparing and just being confident in myself and my abilities. So I think that really helped me leading into race day.
Add to that, not having the crowd there, how did that impact you?
For me, I'm a very quiet person. So I really liked not having the crowd there. I love the crowd. In the past, like I've really fed off of the energy of the crowd. When it's there, I gotta use it to my full like potential. And they really I find that it pushes you in those final meters when there's like, you feel like nothing's left, there's always something. And the crowd really helps me dig down and find that. But this time around, since I hadn't raced in so long and since I wasn't used to seeing so many people, it was really great not having a crowd because I could just focus on the race itself and hear the water. That's something that's really important to me. I can hear the rhythm. I can just, and absorbing like the full atmosphere of being in Tokyo. The stadium is gorgeous. And just, yeah, kind of just really being present. I think that was really helpful for me.
Thank you. And Matt, talk a little bit about how you mentally prepared for your races, and also touch on what it was like for you to not have the crowd there, because I know that you and Abby would have very different perceptions of that.
Yeah, so for me, I feel like my race prep started a long time before Tokyo even began, back in even before I left for Vancouver. And I think the kind of words I would use to describe my kind of goal mental state was a calm confidence. And throughout all of the training things, it was quite good to watch the advancement every day. You'd find a couple tenths here and there on a 15 to 400, or get a little better at pacing out at the 100 fly. So I think for me, it was just building blocks over and over again, kind of building this tower of calm confidence into Tokyo, understanding what I had to do and what it felt like to do a best time, and kind of building back my racing ability from not being in the water competing for so long. And I definitely think that once we got to Tokyo, and like Abby said, we had such a great jet lag adaptation plan that we landed in Tokyo, right the next day in the pool, I was picked up right from where I left off in Vancouver. So I think it was definitely relieving in that way, that the big change didn't really affect me in a big way. And just overall, as the racing days got closer and closer, I had my biggest event on day 2, the 400 free, and just understanding in my head and having that confidence that I knew my strategy and I knew what I had to do when I dove off those blocks was really important to me. And me and my coach worked tirelessly on just understanding exactly what I had to do, and that my mental performance was as high as my physical performance was. And it was just day after day. I had 4 races, and for each of those, it was just focus on the exact thing that day, and once it was done, focus on the next day right away. And it definitely helped me to maintain that focus throughout the entire games and to keep my mental energy high even up till day 10.
Thank you. And speak a little bit about what it was like to have not much of a crowd in your environment.
That part was definitely something that I felt we were prepared for pretty well this year, with doing time trials and race simulations without crowds. So I think that part wasn't too much of a shock, but even the general noise of that stadium itself was decent enough that you didn't feel like it was invading your focus, how much silence there was. So it was a good balance of excitement and quietness at the same time.
Thank you. Ryan?
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was muted. So just to give a little bit of context, I guess, we had a very similar situation. Normally, how we would prepare for a major meet in a different country would be to basically be within that time zone for about 2 weeks almost. Generally, that's where our staging camp would be. Same thing on the Paralympic side every time. And this time we weren't able to do that. So some of the adaptations started before we got on a plane to Tokyo, and that was trying to stay up a little bit later, trying to trick your circadian rhythm. We couldn't really change our practice time. So we were getting up, asking the athletes to wear sunglasses throughout the hotel, like they were, hungover rock stars or something, like walking around with sunglasses, trying to avoid sunlight for the first several hours of the day, trying to trick their system as we slowly adapted. Our travel day was probably not ideal. There was only one flight that we could have taken. It was at not the best time, probably. We still had to get up early rather than sleep in that day. So we got up early, had a workout, took a bus, got to the airport, 3 hours early. So already, we're probably 6-7 hours into our day by the time the flight starts, which is an 8-hour flight. And we finally arrive in Tokyo, and you're trying to delay that excitement of the Olympics. You finally land, you're at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, and it's 7 hours before we even get to the village because of all these protocols and the confusion. We were like one of the first teams to arrive on the first possible day. The confusion at the airport and no one there really to translate or to facilitate it. Katrina, tell me how you felt during those 7 hours and like what was going through your mind and did anything happen? Do you have any stories about that? And go from there.
I do remember just being really exhausted the whole day. I think most of us fell asleep on the hour car ride from the airport to the village. But I think, yeah, we kind of were trying to delay the excitement, even though we walked to the airport, we would see the Olympic rings and it got really surreal. We still had a long ways to go from that point. But I definitely do remember being pretty exhausted and kind of just wanting to get out of there and starting to kind of enjoy the Olympic Village and the Olympic experience. But it definitely wasn't ideal. But I think like with all the circumstances we've gone through the past year and a half, in a way we've almost been prepared for anything. So maybe it could have been a lot worse, but I think we got through it pretty well. And even with like the time change and everything, personally, it really didn't affect me too bad. I caught on to, Japan time pretty easily. So it was a pretty clean transition from Vancouver to Tokyo.
When we got to the village, were you expecting it to be what it was? Like it was it's a mini city, right? Like it's massive. There's these big condo buildings that are built up. And what went through your mind when we finally got there?
I was a bit starstruck, seeing all the different countries and the apartment buildings all decorated. It was so surreal. And I remember growing up and seeing photos and like videos and watching people at the Olympic Games. So then when I was finally there, I was definitely starstruck, and it just made it all so surreal. I'm like walking around, seeing people from different countries and the Olympic rings everywhere. I'm like, wow, like I'm really an Olympian. So it was a pretty incredible experience.
Who were your roommates?
So I was rooming with Kira, both in Vancouver and in Tokyo. And then I was also with Kylie, Kyla, Taylor, Mary, and Katrina. So it was a good group of us. And I mean, they're all very experienced athletes. So having them all kind of mentors for the whole time was really cool.
Did you rely on any of these veterans for, advice or like how to, what to expect, what to go through? This was your first, senior team. Was it what you expected? What caught you off guard?
I think it definitely is a pretty big change from junior team to a senior team. Of course, just like Swim Canada and all the staff being there there's a lot more staff and everyone's there for you all the time. But I think I relied on Kira maybe a little too much. She might have got a bit annoyed with me at some point. But like by the end, she became like a sister to me and one of my best friends. We're still in touch now. And so she kind of like led me through the way of everything. And even like the older girls are all so sweet and so welcoming and made me feel like, I've known them for a couple years now. So I definitely relied on them quite a lot through the entire trip.
Awesome. I'm going to come back to you in a second. Let's go Finlay. Finlay, do you remember getting off the plane and like, this is our first time in another country in a long time. And we get off the plane, we get in a line and there's other countries there and we're just waiting for like a half hour. And then all of a sudden, like the line turned directions and we had to turn around. We were facing the wrong way. All of a sudden we're at the back of the line again. And like, there's people around us and they're coughing and they're sneezing and you're just getting the anxieties building up. Did you feel that at all? Or was that just me?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a little stressful. Obviously the good thing is we were told that when we get to the airport, it's going to be a very long time. There's going to be a lot of waiting around. So mentally getting off of that plane, I knew that it was not going to be quick and easy. And then just trying to tune everything out. Obviously having masks on and everything and knowing that we're staying in our group and, everyone's double vaccinated, everyone's been tested, everyone's safe. So it was nice just being surrounded by our group and not really having to worry about any other teams. But it definitely was stressful. But I'm so glad we were given, that little advice a little bit before, knowing that it is going to be a little bit of a wait and a little bit tedious. But it was just getting there, getting everything what we needed to be done, and just being patient.
So when we landed, we had got there like the earliest possible day to start our adaptation, and the pools weren't even available. And I kind of forget about it now because it feels so long ago, but we actually had to wait another, 36 hours before we even could get to the pool. Do you remember that at all? Like, what did you do that day? How did you handle it?
Yeah, obviously, as swimmers, we like to swim 24/7, and a lot of swimmers do get stressed out when you can't get in the pool when you want to. But I think everything kind of stems from COVID and having the 4 months off, but coming back and still swimming fast and everything. So I think just knowing that we would be out of the water for just a little bit of time isn't the end of the world. And there's always other things you can do to stay active and stay fit. So I do remember going with Josh and the boys and just grabbing the bikes and biking around the village and just trying to be outside. And I remember we hit the gym that day as well. We were able to go in our Team Canada weight room. So we were able to still stay active. We just weren't able to touch the water, which honestly was probably a good thing, just to get the mind off swimming and focus on just our body and just outside of the water. So it was weird and stressful, but you got to look at everything in a positive way.
Tell me what went through your mind the first time we show up at the venue, and there's 3 huge pools, beautiful. Tell me what you thought of the venue.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those swimmers that loves pools. Obviously, going to different pools all around the world, it's you definitely find pools that you like and you don't like, and it was incredible. It just, the moment we walked in, I know a few of us were talking, it's just like we just couldn't wait to race. We couldn't wait to jump in the water. We couldn't wait to swim. And it was incredible having, obviously the stands weren't going to be full, but just having, seats going all the way up to the sky, and the pool just being perfectly in the middle, and everything was new, and the smell of the pool is just like, it was pretty incredible.
Are you a pre-meet comp pool trainer? Warm-up pool? What do you prefer?
I try not to get too picky with it. I guess for me, at least, if I'm swimming long course, I want to be training long course, and if I'm racing short course, I want to be training short course. So sometimes the only option is to be training in the comp pool or not the comp pool. And I always love to get in the comp pool a few times, but if I were to have to choose, I would definitely like to save the comp pool for racing.
Josh, talk to me about bikes.
Yeah, so I'm not really that good at riding a bike. These boys definitely helped me get better at it. It's just something I never really did. I played like sports and stuff, but I never really got into bike riding. So yeah, they had some bikes in the village in Tokyo. So yeah, we took them around. I was kind of riding. It was me, Finlay, Gabe, and Cole. We would just go around, go to to get to the dining hall. We would go down. They had like a gift shop place, which is really cool. I did fall off the bike once. That was a funny moment. I don't think Finlay was there at the time that I fell off, but yeah, it was just a fun thing that we had. It was cool that they had the bikes there in the village. Coaches wasn't too happy that I fell off a bike right before the meet, but yeah, it was definitely a good time, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't part of our plan that, you have these huge open wounds that are bleeding right before you race. And you don't even tell us that I fell off the bike. You're just like, I don't know. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Like, But no, it didn't end up affecting anything, so it was cool. But next time, even if there's a bike available, if you don't know how to ride it, it's probably not the best idea 3 days before your biggest race of your life.
Yeah, I learned a lesson there.
Your first race was the relay, and we'll come to your races after. But tell me a little bit about Brent Hayden and the effect he had on the men's relay team.
Oh, it was really good having someone like him who's just like, you have like the people who've been through it before. He's been through it a bunch of times, right? Like more than a lot of people even around the world, and like more about as many times as any swimmer. So having someone like him who knows the routine, knows what's going on, and like especially even in that relay, because this is before any of my races, I kind of got to go through and he kind of led me through, and I just kind of had a good start to the meet, knowing where everything was right away. And then by the time for my individual races, I already knew the routine and knew what was going on. So having him there was definitely a really, really good thing for me. Just having him guide me, even huge guidance to even all the other guys too. But yeah, like him giving me some tips and what to do, and kind of just giving me some insight on like what he's done and what's worked for him, and what mistakes he's made was definitely a really good thing having him there.
Finlay, I just want to ask you about the glasses that we brought to the Olympics. It was one of our adaptation strategies. Basically all the athletes got 2 pairs of glasses. One was a yellow tint, which was meant to, the awake glasses, get your circadian rhythm geared towards being awake, a little bit more energy. And then we had the red ones, which were a little bit more geared towards helping you go to sleep and tune down. Did you like that? What was your thoughts about it? And do you think it was an advantage for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything extra in these situations can be seen as an advantage. And I mean, I'll be honest, I still have them. I was just in Italy for the International Swim League, and we were competing super late. So as soon as we got back to the hotel, I would throw them on, and it would just help me wind down. And so, I mean, the fact that I'm still using them today, I think speaks for itself. It shows that I do believe they worked, and they definitely helped. And the great thing was everyone in our apartment complex was using them as well. And everyone in the team was behind it, and they believed in it. And I think just having that as well makes them feel like they work even better, So it was nice that everyone was kind of doing it together. And I definitely thought they were a huge help.
One of the neat things I think is that like so much in swimming is professionalized, and all the countries are trying to do the same thing. And this was something that was unique to the Canadian swimmers. And at first people were like, and then we start swimming well. And then honestly, as coaches, there was probably 30 coaches that came up and were like, what are these things? What's happening here? Like, why do you guys got this? And so many people were interested, and it just like, it gives you that, maybe you guys don't see that, but it gives you that little bit of a advantage where the other athletes are going like, they have something that we don't, and nobody has something that the others don't. Like it's a pretty even playing field. And not that it's necessarily is a huge advantage, but it starts on the mental side. I don't know if you guys thought that as well, but definitely as a coach, so many questions were coming our way.
Yeah, even as a swimmer, we would have people come up to us and just ask, "Yo, why are you wearing these glasses?" Because we would wear them to the dining hall, or the yellow ones when you'd wake up from your nap, you'd throw them on and you'd walk to the bus with them on, and everyone would come up to us and be like, "What are those glasses? What are they doing?" And we're just like, these ones help us wake up and stuff like that. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's so sweet," like, "Oh, we should get a pair. We should have done that." So it was cool that obviously, because as athletes, everyone wants to be the best they can. So everyone was asking and just trying to find out ways to be better. So it was cool that we had done something different. And as simple as just having colored glasses, people were pretty intrigued by them.
Awesome. Vicki, I'll throw it back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. I think everybody knows that the Olympics are the largest sporting event in the world, but I don't know that people realize that the Paralympics are the second largest sporting event in the world. And I think that's kind of a cool thing just for everybody to realize, because I think they probably have able-bodied sporting things before they realize the Paralympics are right there as the second largest sporting event in the world. Matt, I wanted to ask you, what is it like to swim on one of the largest stages in the world with a maple leaf on your cap?
It's honestly, it's the kind of feeling that you get when you walk out with that Canadian gear on out onto that deck and find your block and kind of just realize what you're embodying in that exact moment right there. The camera's on you, seeing you representing a country of 37 odd million people, and you're the one that gets to be up on that block at that exact moment. It's hard to kind of imagine how to kind of quantify that feeling in a sense, but there's just a lot of pride around the whole concept of you're carrying that flag into that race, and you're representing to the rest of your fellow teammates and fellow Canadians what we can do when we really put our minds to something and really work towards a goal and strive to do our best.
Was it everything you dreamed it could be?
It was definitely more than I could have imagined or dreamed. Just even the feeling of walking on that deck itself and just feeling all the open space around, it's a kind of feeling that you don't really understand until you're actually in the moment itself, and just kind of the pride and the energy that's within you as you walk out and get ready for your race.
Thank you. Abby, can you share your story from the very first time that you realized you wanted to represent Canada?
Oh boy, that's a throwback. That's I was very, very little. And I was lucky to grow up on a club where there was many members of the national team that were part of that club on the Paralympic side, or just so I wanted to be like my teammates. I wanted to represent Canada just the same as them, or even take that one step further and go to the Paralympic Games and represent Canada at the Paralympics. So I think for me, my goal was to have that maple leaf on my swim cap, but at the Paralympic Games. And I just remember just being really, really motivated by that. Even as an 8-year-old, I just became like laser focused on Rio 2016. And I knew I was going to be young, but I used that kind of youthful optimism and just not having experience of having anything go wrong. Everything was gonna go right, and I was gonna get to represent Canada and have that experience. So yeah, it's a good memory, that's for sure.
So I remember you mastering the ability to draw a maple leaf, and you drew maple leafs everywhere. So I know where this started, but how has it changed over time?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think for me, as a kid, I just loved, even before I started swimming, I had a fascination for the maple leaf. I remember just loving like anything Canada, anything red. And that kind of grew as I moved into sport and realized that I could actually represent that flag that I love so much. And I think that was really, really like a special moment for me. And now as I've gotten older and as I've been able, like, as I've had incredible experiences representing Canada, like, for example, my first international meet was on home soil in Toronto at the Pan Am Games. I kind of realized, like, it's so incredibly special. There's almost not words for it. It always gives me like a warm, fuzzy feeling, I guess. And like now it's something bigger than myself. It's not just that kid that wanted the maple leaf on my swim cap. It's representing the movement of sport in Canada, and also I think the para sport movement in Canada. And I know I'm very, very excited about what we're doing, and I think I'm excited for the years to come. So I think, yeah, it's become something bigger.
So one more question, and Matt and Abby, you can answer this. People often talk about your Olympic experience, and they feel that they're making your achievement greater by referring to you as an Olympic athlete rather than a Paralympic athlete. Can you speak about you?
Okay, I think it's me. I think for me, I always use it as an educational moment. I think I kind of love when people are like, I've had some people be like, oh my gosh, you're an Olympian. And I correct them and I'm like, yeah, I'm a Paralympian. Like, I have a physical disability. I've grown up with it. I'm really proud of it. But then they're like, but don't downgrade yourself. Like, I see you as an Olympian. And for me, like, that's always a curious thing, that it's like, and you don't really want to read into it too much, because it's like, okay, then what about all the other Paralympians? Like, it's very, very special. And like, I think for me, I'm always just like, the Paralympics deserve to have their own stage, and it's special in its own way, and everybody has a story. There's people that were born with their impairments, or there's people that have acquired them through any number of things. So I love when people bring it up, or say the comment, or ask the question, because it's an amazing opportunity just to like be like, hey, this is what the Paralympic logo looks like, and it's different than the Olympic rings, and both are extremely special events, and super amazing athletes get to go to both events, and but we're still under the same team of Team Canada. So it's kind of explaining that. It's always fun for me.
Excellent. Matt, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, definitely. Abby brings up a lot of really, really good points there about what the Paralympic movement and the Olympic movement, each on their own, bring to the table. And especially how you, Vicki, said that they are number 1 and 2 in the world as the biggest sporting events. And I think that just kind of points to how crucial both are to the sporting world, in that without either one of them, the sporting world's a very different place, and without kind of, it kind of doesn't encompass everything. I definitely feel like the Olympic and Paralympic movements have the same goals, is to bring the highest performance athletes into one place to compete, to see who can come out on top. But they both do it in very different ways. Kind of the Paralympic movement stems from a lot of stories of perseverance and what everyone's done to really get there. And the Olympic movement has a lot of that, but it's very different in its own way. And I think that definitely with both of them, the sporting world's a more complete place, and that they both have their spot in the spotlight, that they both deserve to be watched and recognized and appreciated for what they are.
Awesome. I guess I'll jump off from that. Guys, those are fantastic comments, and I really appreciate hearing what it meant to you to represent your country. Josh, I'm going to come back to you because I think I just want to talk about how the racing went down a little bit. And yours starts in April or May, I should say, when at a time trial, 4 guys need to throw down a time just to make the relay. And then fast forward to day 2 finals, or the second final session, whatever day that was. And you guys are racing for bronze medal out of nowhere. Like we weren't even qualified a few months before that. And then 375 meters into, you guys have all thrown down lifetime best splits. And, you know, what was that like for you? That's your first Olympic race of, well, I guess after prelims, but that's your first Olympic final of your life. And you're in that kind of situation. How did that feel?
Yeah, I'll even like jump back to Brent again, seeing him go out that 22.8. Just the feeling of being in that race. Like you said, we weren't even qualified at one point, and now like we're in the race. And even like while I'm in the water, while I'm swimming, it's like it's really motivating. Like, you know, you're in the race and you're competing against like the best in the world, and you're giving them a fight. So just that feeling of having all the guys and just like we were just pushing and seeing how far we could go. And like obviously we came up with the 4th place, and it was still a really good accomplishment, but you could see like there's some disappointment there when you know you're that close. We weren't even that far off second too. It was like second, third, and us. We were like, I think within a second. So yeah, just, and even I think that's a good thing that we were like a little disappointed, right? Which just showing that where our goals are at, and we want to be competitive, and we want to just keep getting better as a team on the men's side. So I feel like that relay at the beginning of the meet was definitely a big thing. It definitely gave me a lot of confidence. I know that to have that race at the start.
What were those swims like for you? Were they like, was there more nerves than ever before? Or was it just like a normal race? How did it feel to like represent your country at that stage in that kind of moment? Was it normal, or was it, you know, like this is a whole different ballgame?
I'll definitely say it's weird because at the beginning, I feel like, I guess it was because how comfortable I was with the guys that I've been training with. It felt pretty normal. I would say the prelims of that race felt pretty normal. And then once we made it in, once we were in the final, and knowing that we're in the race, there's definitely a sense of like responsibility there. So it definitely, the pressure's up a bit more, and you know, like all of Canada's watching, and you want to strive for the best possible spot you can be in. So that was definitely it was a big thing, and having all like a lot of weight on our shoulders, but we handled it really well.
Nice. Katrina, you didn't race in the first few days. What were your emotions like watching it, knowing you're about to go, and how do you control all that?
Yeah, I think I was pretty excited the whole entire time. Of course, I wanted to keep calm and stay focused on my goal and what I was swimming, but like watching Maggie win the 100 fly and watching the boys relay all before that, it was motivating me. And you know, like watching them get to swim in this Olympic pool, it made me even more excited to want to try my hardest and represent Canada to the best of my ability.
So you're a bit of a trivia point now, because you won the first ever heat of women's 1500 at the Olympics. You for a moment there, you were the Olympic record holder. It's pretty cool. How did that go for you, and how did you manage it? Let's just start with that. How was that?
That was weird. I actually didn't know that I held the Olympic record until someone brought it up into an interview after the race, and I was like, what do you mean I got the Olympic record? I was like, I didn't even know that. But definitely like before the race, I was kind of, no, I wouldn't say upset, but I was definitely it was weird to be in a heat with only 2 other swimmers, and definitely not what I imagined my Olympic debut to kind of be like. But looking back at it, I'm like, I won the first heat of the women's 1500 meter freestyle ever, and I got a best time, and you know, I couldn't really ask for anything better than that. And I think being in lane 4 at the Olympics is probably better than being in lane 8 or 9. So looking back, I'm like, wow, I wouldn't change anything. If I could do it again, I'd keep the same lane. And it's still kind of weird to be like, wow, I held the Olympic record for a short period of time, but it's something I get to say I held.
No, it was awesome. And like as coaches, we definitely talked about it beforehand. We're like, looks like she's going to be in heat 1. You know, we'd love for you to be in heat 2 and have a different race. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, no, this is an open Olympic record. Like this, she has an opportunity here. And this is really cool. I also think like I've been able to coach distance at a lot of like international meets, the distance athletes. And sometimes the difference from trying to qualify, where you're just pushing for that time and you end up almost alone at the end of that race, to lane 8, against Katie Ledecky, that contrast leads to like, it's so much harder to do a best time at the Olympics. And you are a rookie at the Olympics who did a best time. And, you're 15 at the time. Had your birthday already happened? I remember your birthday happened at the Olympics.
Yeah, so I was 16 and then I turned 17 afterwards.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
But that is an amazing experience that you get to take with you the rest of your life. Was that like, you were your best. And how did it feel to you to represent your country?
I mean, just like Matthew and Abby, it's really hard to put into words. Your whole life in the sport is pretty much the goal of making the Olympic team. And then when you actually do it, it's very shocking and surreal. And I mean, when I stepped on the blocks and I put my cap and goggles on and I look down and I see the maple leaf and the Olympic rings on my chest, I'm proud and I remember just feeling so ready and so motivated to swim my race and give it everything I've got. Because even though it is a big responsibility to represent the maple leaf, especially at the Olympic Games, it's such a big honor, and to be, one of many of the other swimmers, but not a lot of athletes get to do it. So kind of holding that to myself throughout the race was definitely kept me going, and especially a very hard and kind of long event.
Thank you. Finlay, what did it mean to you to be an Olympian, to represent Canada, this was your first senior international meet as well. How did you feel about it all?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was obviously, first, like you said, first for me. So just trying to soak up every moment. And for me, it was just trying to tell myself that I belong there. And that was something that, it's obviously a goal of mine, but shouldn't sell myself short and just have a goal of making the Olympics. And, I think kind of recapping on what everyone has said, it's an honor to be able to represent Canada at the Olympics, especially, and putting on the suit and having your name on your cap and everything. So it was absolutely incredible, and I enjoyed every moment of it.
What's a takeaway for you? Because you are someone who immediately left the games and had the opportunity to race again at ISL, and you've gone to become a guy who's winning races at the ISL. So how did the Olympics help you with all that?
Yeah, it was obviously not what I wanted. It wasn't like I swam super poorly or anything. I just was unlucky and got caught on the outside and just missed the semifinal. But it was a huge motivator, and it makes me, see what I'm capable of, and watching the semi and the final and seeing where I should have placed. And it's a huge motivator. And it was one of those things where before the Olympics, we had the opportunity to go to Europe after the Olympics to train for the ISL. And I was super motivated to do that. And obviously after the Olympics happened, I was even more motivated to jump back in the water, get more training, get more race experience. And for me, I would say I'm a racer. I love racing. I need racing. And that's one thing I just wanted to get back into. Obviously this year, because of COVID, our trials were postponed, our swim meets were canceled. We barely had any real racing experience. And that was something I really missed, and I really wish we had more of. But jumping into ISL, just having the opportunity to race again and race Olympians and race the best in the world. It was incredible. And like you said, I managed to get my hand on the wall first a couple times, and I guess it just kind of showed me what I'm actually capable of. And every opportunity to race is just a building block to the next competition.
I'll just ask each of you three one more question quickly, and then I'll throw it back to Vicki to finish up on the Paralympic side. You're all three of you were first-time Olympians and young athletes to boot, and you all swam well, acquitted yourself really well. So I think the future is bright for all three of you. Tell me something that you are looking forward to over the next 3 years as we move into Paris. I'll start with you, Josh.
I'm definitely looking forward to kind of racing those guys on the big stage again. I would say is one of the big thing that I want to do. I feel like being at the Olympics, being able to measure myself against the best in the world was something very new. Like I've had some international meets, but being able to kind of race people in that environment who are going world-class times, world records, going the fastest humans have ever been ever, right? So I'm just looking forward to kind of growing in this sport and challenging like the best in the world. So I'm really looking forward to the next few years.
Thank you. Katrina, how about you?
I'm really looking forward to gaining more experience these next couple of years and hopefully getting my name on some more senior national teams. I really just want to see myself get stronger and hopefully, make some of the older swimmers and swimmers from around the world aware of my name someday, and really just try to set my goals for each year and make them happen.
That's great. Thank you. Finlay.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed COVID kind of settles out and we can actually travel and race more. And, I think the lack of racing really got in my head a little. And I'm one that loves racing. I love competing. I love having challenges, and I love stepping up on the blocks against people who I know are better than me and giving them a race. So I think this next couple of years, just having more racing experience, kind of like what Katrina said, and kind of what Josh said, is just like just getting stronger. We're all young. We still have time to put more weight on, get bigger, get stronger, get faster, and it's just super exciting knowing that there is more to come. And I'm just stoked for the next couple of years and what it's going to hold.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Vicki.
Matt and Abby, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is one of the biggest lessons that you learned from attending these games? Matt, you can go.
Probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from these games is a pretty simple kind of thought process to follow, but keep pushing. And overall, the last kind of year has been, even in training and in kind of time trial, it's been just hitting a wall over and over again, kind of getting to a point, hitting that wall, then being thrown back a little bit and having to kind of regain that ground. And as the Paralympics got closer and, we got into Tokyo, and just throughout staging camp itself, just waking up every day and going to the pool and having some of the best workouts I've had in a long, long time, and just doing a race 400 pace set and, the middle 200 area, just gain a couple tenths each day and kind of just not stop pushing and find the new limits that I had for myself really came to a head in Tokyo when I dove in on my 400 free 8 prelims, and just kind of that wall just came down immediately all around me, and I was kind of freed into going and chasing that race and making that first Paralympic final. So I think definitely keep pushing is something that I'm going to carry with me into the future, and definitely one that I feel is going to get me to bigger and better places.
Awesome. Is there a moment that sticks out in your mind as your games moment, the thing that exemplifies everything that you hope?
For me, my big moment was my 100 fly finals race. That was kind of my race that I've been working on for years now, and something that I've poured every ounce of my energy into every day when I got to the pool, into making my fly a better race and being competitive. So as I closed in on that wall at that last 100 meters from my last race at my first Paralympics, and just kind of kept pushing and pushing just to try and catch the two guys in front of me. And that was just overall just such an eye-opening moment for me. And even though I missed that podium by about 7/10, and definitely wish I had a couple more meters of that pool left, I felt so proud of that race and just so absolutely just overwhelmed by how much work went into that one moment as I touched the wall, and how proud I was of everything me and my coaches have accomplished in the last couple of years.
Not to mention the Canadian record, right, Matt?
Yes, that was definitely a good bonus.
And Abby, can you tell me what is the biggest lesson that you learned from these games?
I think the biggest lesson I learned was that it's not always about the result. I think that I had a pretty disappointing result at the games, but at the same time, I learned a lot about like myself that I wasn't expecting to learn, and like even though it was a disappointing result of a disqualification, like I'm still super proud of that swim and what it represents, and the whole story behind it. And I think for me, like I realizing like how many people were watching and were supporting me and really cared about it was just incredible. It meant so much. So that really like gives me so much fire moving forward in my training, to really just remember that it's always like to look for that bigger perspective, and to just be swimming because we love it, and to just base it off of that, and through that I can reach my best results in the future.
Thank you, Abby. It's been really inspiring to be part of this conversation, to hear what the Olympic and the Paralympic athletes have to say. I'm touched by the positivity of everyone. They're forward towards the future, and just the energy that each of you show when you speak. And I hope that young people as well as the coaches get to hear your words, because I think they're really valuable.
Yes, that's exactly it. Any last words, Ryan?
No, I would just echo the same thing. You guys are great messengers for the sport and for the younger community. And I think you're going to inspire a lot of athletes with this kind of messaging and these lessons that you've learned. It's been an honor to be a part of this, and I'm really thankful.
Well, thank you very much, Vicki and Ryan, for guiding this talk, this discussion. To Josh and Katrina and Finlay and Matthew and Abby, thank you so much. Thank you. We get to watch you swim, and we think we know you a little bit through your performances, and yes, we do. And then we get to either hear you in an interview or watch or read what you've said in an interview, and we learn a little bit more, and we get so impressed. And then when we have a moment like this, to have you on a virtual stage, but to hear what you said, you are such tremendous ambassadors for sport, for our sport. And hopefully we can take some sound bites out of this moment, because this is what's going to emerge us. This is what's going to get the sport back on track here in this country. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to listen and get to know you, each of you, a little bit more. And fantastic. All the best moving forward. Each of you have new goals, new sights. We just can't wait to see what those bring. So thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it. And we know that a great number of people will be able to tune in this, and this is going to be a rewarding moment for them. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care, be safe, and hopefully we'll see you on the deck in the reel soon.